Hello, it's Alethea here. Today we're going to do a little bit of shoulder awareness for those of us who practice asana, so yoga asana. So what we'll do today is a little bit of awareness and maybe a little bit of movements that will correlate or show up in your yoga asana practice. So first, if you want to have some kind of bolster or pillow or blankets, we are going to use that in a little bit and just have them off to the side. But first we're going to get kind of really up and center with our shoulder. So just noticing first, where is your shoulder? So coming to that joint and just kind of noticing where it is. Maybe give it a nice squeeze. You can do it on both arms. So remembering that the shoulder is really a joint and not a muscle. So we always think the shoulder muscle, or you might hear that, and it's really the joint. And we're going to work with the muscles around that joint. And so that's really what we'll concentrate on today, is kind of the muscles that kind of hold that shoulder or support that shoulder in movement and in stillness. So after you gave your shoulder a little bit of rub, a little bit of hug, now let's get to the muscles around it. So maybe getting a little bit into that armpit, that chest, so kind of noticing that plays a role. Maybe noticing how the neck plays a role. Then coming to the back side, noticing how that plays a role. And then really coming up and under. So maybe lifting that arm up and feeling how that plays a role. You might come up into the scapula here. And just noticing all of that. So you can do it one more time. Maybe the chest, under the arm, up to the neck, to the back, and then maybe getting up and under that scapula. Just noticing the sensations you feel. You can do it on the other side too if you'd like. Just noticing all that. Maybe feeling, differences in the right and left shoulders. And then we're going to get into some simple movements. So you can sit in a comfortable seat. I'm going to stay here in my Vajrasana, or Seiza as I like to call it. I lived in Japan. But what we'll do first is maybe grab our wrists, maybe our forearms or the elbows, and feel free to come and bring them into what I call I Dream of Genie, but you might be too young to know about this show. Just bringing them parallel to your chest, and then maybe you start to move the elbows into circles. So we start to feel the sensations in the shoulders as we move our elbows in a circle in one direction. Might notice some popping. Just notice which side it is. No need to analyze or judge. Just noticing what's going on. And then we'll go into the opposite direction. So allowing the circles to go in the opposite. And you might feel it popping now, or it might be a click. Again, just noticing what side it is. Keeping that in the back of the head. And then feel free to come back to center. And then maybe bring your hands onto your shoulders and just let the fingertips lie there. Just noticing how that feels. Does this feel really exhausting? Would you rather have the arms down, or is this something that you can do? That's something just to notice. And then if you can, if it's accessible to you, maybe you roll the elbows into circles here in one direction or the other, going in whatever direction is calling you. Again, maybe there's clicking and popping, just noticing what shoulder it is. And going in the opposite direction. So again, the sensations might change. I'm just noticing if it is a little sticky, or maybe it's a nice smooth circle. And feel free to release that down, maybe shake it out. And we'll do a little bit of shoulder extension when you're ready, so let the arms be by your side. Take a nice inhale, lifting them up, and exhale, bringing them back down. So if you revolve, if you'd like, keep the palms up and then rotate them down, that gets a little bit different kind of energy as well as movement into the shoulders. So just noticing how it feels to rotate the palms up and down. And you can do it differently. You can keep the palms up as you come down. Notice how that feels. And then rotate the palms down as you come up. And just notice how that feels in the shoulders. The sensations you feel. And one more time, whatever direction you'd like to do today. And feel free to shake it out. And then we'll get a little bit into our range of motion here. So if you want to bring one hand to the back of the head, the very bottom of the back of the head, right where the neck might start, and just notice if you can keep that elbow open. If it feels really intense, go ahead and bring the elbow closer to your face. Again, just noticing what's going on in that pec, which plays a role with the shoulder and the mobility we have there. Take another deep breath here. And go ahead and release. We'll go to the other side. So opposite hand to the back of the head, right where it meets the neck. Again, noticing the sensations you feel in the chest. Maybe it's too intense, so bring the elbow in. It can be somewhere in the middle. Again, notice the role that pec muscle plays with your shoulder mobility. And whenever you feel ready, releasing that back down. Maybe give everything a nice shake. And we're going to find a little bit of rotation now by bending the elbow and let that hand come behind your back. So basically just bringing the hand behind, you'll feel how the shoulder internally rotates. Just noticing how that feels. If it feels too intense, just bring it to the hip. Notice if you can still do that movement. You see that my shoulder is slightly internally rotated. It does get more intense with the hand behind. And when you've had enough release, shake it out. We'll go to the other side. So again, just paying attention. We're bringing awareness to our shoulder. Maybe on the hip, or let the hand come behind the back. Again, if you've had any trauma in the clavicle area and your collarbone, this might not be accessible. You might want to just keep the arm down your side. So remembering there's a lot of things that connect to the shoulder and make mobility or make movement and flexibility a little bit more challenging. And then whenever you're ready, feel free to release that. Give a nice shake or wiggle. And then we're going to come into some other movements. So we're going to come onto our hands and knees. So if you're in a seat, go ahead and make your way onto your hands and knees. And I know that you might think that we'll come into cat-cow for some awareness, but what we're really going to do is protract and retract the shoulder. So what does protract look like? It looks like rounding into the shoulders, pushing them away, really pushing down into the hands. Just feeling as if you could become a dome with your shoulders. I had a teacher once tell me, make the Hagia Sophia. Pretty much stuck, and I usually use that analogy. Do you feel like you're making that dome in the Hagia Sophia? And then for retracting, letting the scapulas kind of come together, letting the chest fall. So protract, retract, protract, retract, protract, retract. And being careful, a lot of us who do yogasana tend to have hyper extended elbows. So make sure that it's not coming and you're just like really pushing the elbows out. This would be a hyperextended elbow. Just allowing for a little bit of stability, a little bit of a bend, and noticing how it feels to protract and retract. We can do this without being on all fours. So if you like, just let the arm come out in front, and then notice what happens. Bringing your hand to where we were before, right where the scapula is, and just push away. You feel how that scapula rounds. And then retract, protract, retract, protract, retract. And so we're going to play with this sensation now in a down dog. So coming onto all fours, go ahead and push back. And the first thing to get awareness into the shoulders, make sure that you're pushing into all 5 knuckles of your palm. So first doing that, notice what that feels like in your shoulders. And then notice what happens if you protract. So pushing down, rounding into that shoulder girdle as if you have that Hagia Sophia. And then notice what happens when you retract. So protract, retract, protract, retract, protract, and retract. And then come back to a neutral position that you find accessible and easy. And then we'll play with this with a little bit with our gaze. So again, making sure all 5 knuckles are touching the mat, really pressing evenly throughout the 5 knuckles. Then from here, looking towards maybe your belly button or your knees, and then go ahead and inhale, look forward. Exhale, looking towards your belly button. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, looking towards your belly button or knees. Inhale, look forward. Exhaling, looking towards your belly button or knees. And inhale, look forward. Exhale, belly button or knees. Go ahead and come down to your knees. Notice what that felt like. Did you feel any of the same sensations as the protract and retract? Or maybe it felt a little different. And it's okay. But noticing, bringing the awareness, what did the shoulders feel like when you changed your gaze? Where was the weight going? What were your muscles doing? These are things you can bring into your yoga asana practice, making sure that you are aware of what your shoulders are doing, what your muscles are doing, in order to avoid any unnecessary injury. And so for the last thing, we're going to come down onto our mat on our back for our last bit of shoulder awareness. So take your time to safely come down. And this is where we're going to have this handy, our bolster, pillow, blankets, whatever. But first we're going to come down and same thing. I dream of Genie, grabbing opposite wrists, forearms or elbows. And just noticing now as we make a circle, what it feels like when the shoulders are kind of pinned down. The scapula is kind of pinned down onto the mat. What does that feel like? Is there more clicking? Is there less clicking? And then going into the opposite direction. Just noticing what that feels like. And then when you're ready, feel free to open up the arms into a T. Just noticing again what that feels. We're going to come into a little bit of shoulder flexion, shoulder extension, and a bit of rotation. So the first thing we'll do is let the arms now come down by the hips. Go ahead and inhale, let the tops of the hands come overhead, and then exhale, palms coming back down. So feel free to do a couple of these movements at your own pace. It's always nice to sync the breath with the movement, so maybe the inhale, extending out, really giving the belly space to breathe, and on the exhale, allowing everything to kind of suck in and relax. One more time, wherever you are, inhale, really expand, and exhale back down. And just notice if you felt any sensations in the shoulders. Was there any clicking, any of that? Again, noticing what side. Keep that in the back of the mind, something that might come up for you in your yogasana practice. So now we're going to come into the rotation. So go ahead and feel free to bring the elbows out as if we were going to do goalpost or cactus arms, but this time having the palms facing up. So the palms are facing down towards the feet. And this is where we're going to be extra careful, extra aware of how far our body can go, what feels right for us. So from this neutral position, maybe you start to let the tops of the hands go back. And just notice what that feels like. Can they go? There might be a point where you feel any pinching, any sensation that's unpleasant. We stop there. So no need to go all the way down to the floor if that is not within your limits. So feeling free to stop right before you get to any discomfort. Maybe taking a breath there, noticing what that feels like. And then feel free now to go to the opposite. Let the palms go down towards the mat. Now for me, this is where we'll find some tightness. I'm not going to go all the way down. That might not be the case for you. You might easily go all the way down on the first try. Again, taking a deep breath here, noticing the sensations, noticing how the shoulders feel, if one feels stronger, looser than the other. And then when you're ready, coming back to center. We're going to do this a couple more times, but with some more fluidity. So just allowing yourself to breathe and move. Again, you might go all the way down on both sides. You might go all the way down on one. But perhaps as you continue this motion, you notice that you start to loosen up. So it might feel a little bit better, might be a little easier as you continue this movement to come to that idea that maybe you will fall on both sides. This is just a possibility. You might not. And just noticing, making sure that there is no pinching, tingling, feeling. We are just allowing our arms to rotate external and internal. And just noticing how that affects the shoulders. And as you see how my fingers now come down, my palms still don't. But with a little bit of movement, I was able to loosen up that joint just a little bit more. And then when you feel like you've had enough, feel free to release those arms down. Just take a nice deep breath. And we'll come into our last little shoulder awareness exercise. So allowing the arms to come out into a T. Actually, second to last. Just kidding. And let the knees fall to one side. I'm going to let mine fall to the left. So you can see that my shoulders are still on the mat, but maybe not if I join my right hand over to my left hand. And then I trace my left arm, and I let myself notice if I can open up that shoulder. So we did do a lot of movement, so my shoulder is pretty open. So you can see that I was easily able to bring that shoulder down onto the mat or ground. But on some days, and most days, it's not that easy. Maybe we start to trace the arm and we get a little caught here in our chest and our shoulders still up. Take the time to breathe here. And then just like before, you might notice that gravity or just the breath allows that shoulder to meet the mat or floor. And we'll do that on the other side. So feel free just to let the knees fall to the other side. Let the hands meet. We'll trace that bottom arm. Again, we might find on this side I won't be able to. This usually is my tighter side. Oh, I can. Again, we did a lot of warm-up, so my shoulder can come down and I can open up my arm. Usually, like I said before, I might get caught here with my hand in the center of my chest, not really being able to release that arm fully down. Just take some time to breathe if you get caught or if you're fully down. Just noticing the sensations in both shoulders. And then whenever you're ready, coming back to center, bringing the knees back to center. We'll come now to the last, which is why I asked for the bolster or pillow. So we're going to safely let that arm come behind. So we did a little bit of warm-up of up and down, and you might have noticed that your shoulder was tight. If you're one of the people that shoulder extension is really not the best move or not the most comfortable move, or if you notice when you're in your postures, the shoulders start to creep up towards the ears when we lift them or raise them above our head, then I recommend that you bring a pillow, bolster, or blanket stacked right behind the shoulder, right above the shoulder, and just allow for that arm to kind of fall back. You might need more pillows, you might need more blankets, and just notice where it's comfortable and that shoulder is not really reaching up towards the ear or severely coming off of the mat. So just finding something that feels comfortable. For me, that's with this bolster. For you, it might be higher. And here, taking some deep breaths. So noticing how that feels. And allowing gravity to do its work. And really helping you here. And then you can try the same on the other side. So allowing that pillow bolster to come to the top of that shoulder. And again, maybe letting it come just to where you feel, again, that shoulder's not up by the ear, it's not way off the mat, and just allowing gravity to help do its work. Taking some deep breaths, might notice some different sensations. And then whenever you feel like you've had enough, you can stay 5-10 minutes in any of these exercises if it feels accessible and appropriate for you that day. And then whenever you're ready, just coming back up to a seat. And this is a lot more supportive than maybe coming into a puppy or a down dog for an extended amount of time. So really working with gravity and softly working the shoulder into whatever mobility that it can get to safely without going past your limit. So I hope that you've gotten a little bit of a nugget of something that you can use to help support your yogasana practice and have healthy, stable shoulders. So if you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment, and I hope to see you in